lovely to hear someone with such expertise and talents, and also their ability to share those talents with us very coherently. So before Anya finishes up completely, she'd like to take a few questions if you have some from the floor. And if not, I can start with the first one to get the ball rolling.
Okay.
And it's actually a contract administration question, comparing it to contemporary architecture.
Yeah.
Holy Trinity is almost a contradiction in terms of its design philosophy. It is so ornate, especially for a Church of Ireland, packed with immense detail. But yet all this detail is harnessed in a very refined and restrained manner. It's almost a contradiction in terms. And for an architect to have that control from beginning to end and deliver all that quality coherently, it would almost take having lodgings on site and living here every day. Where were Dean and Woodward based at the time, and how often were they visited site? And how do they exercise that control?
Okay, that's a really good question. So we could just, I suppose, if we base it on what we know about Dean, they're a Dublin-based practice, and but they worked all over the country. Thomas Newnham Dean was working on the restoration of Tuam Cathedral around the same time as the work was carrying on here. And he also married a Mayo woman. So there is a Mayo connection with. Oh, the mic is gone. Sorry.
Just move the mic closer.
Oh yeah. Sorry. So he married a Mayo woman. So he obviously had connections to the local area. I think it was Ballymena. I think she might have been from. It's not that close to here, but he travelled all around the country. Whether he was here full time during the build,
would they have depended more so on a series of craftsmen directly below the architect?
I'd say so. I mean, Dean was extremely busy. He was Inspector of National Monuments. He ran a really, really busy practice in Dublin. It's unlikely that he was here full time exactly. I mean, it must have been. And actually, it was well into Gillespie, presumably. Really, they were the people who were involved in ensuring that the contract was delivered and delivered on budget. I would imagine they were very conscious of the budget. Hence the signature, and hence the story that I gave at the beginning about the church in Clyde Road in Dublin, that they really held sway. The architect was almost dispensed with, it seems, in terms of those letters from Wyatt in London. The architect was dispensed with, and Welland and Gillespie then became the builders. They became the overseers of the project, ensuring that everything went according to plan.
Work or something.
Yeah.
Sure.
Were you saying that the craftsmen were brought here to do the work, or did the stuff get brought, having been done, and inserted?
Oh, I'm sure it was all done on site. I'm sure the stone carving was done. The stained glass, no, the stained glass was imported. Yeah, that was English. But the stone carving was done by Irish craftsmen. But I mentioned Italians as well. There were Italians involved. Anecdotally, we don't have any names, but there were. William Rage was the name of the stone mason who is supposed to have done most of the work, and we don't know anything about him. But we do know that Charles Harrison may have been involved in some way, or that William Ridge may have worked for the firm of Charles Harrison, who also worked in Tuam Cathedral. He also worked on Kildare Street, the building, the Kildare Street Club, and he was really stonemason to Dean Woodward.
The stonemasons that wandered around with the projects, or were they local?
We don't know who William Ridge was. Charles Harrison had a firm in Dublin, so he was a Dublin mason church builder, but the William Ridge, we don't know anything about him. He's a name that appears in an article in the Mayo Examiner on the consecration of the church. He's mentioned as having done the carving for Holy Trinity in that article, and that's the only reference. There's nothing. The Dictionary of Irish Architects is an amazing resource that we have now. It's only recently been compiled, and that has no mention of him. Charles Harrison is mentioned in that as the full biography, profile, works, the whole lot, but nothing for William Ridge. So
the stonemasons did travel around, didn't they?
They must have gone to where the work was. Yeah.
I assume all buildings like this go through this phase, do they? They deteriorate. Buildings deteriorate in time, yeah.
Any building, building 10 years old is deteriorating already as soon as you build it. So the fact that these buildings have lasted so well, so long, is a testament really to their design and the materials used. And they're simple materials. They're really, really all organic in a sense. You know, you have stone, timber, lime mortars, and lead, copper, metals. It's all very, very simple but durable, and the construction techniques used and involved were very simple and durable and lasted very, very well. And I suppose they've withstood 140 years of the west winds of the west of Ireland and driving rain in this part of the country. So it's a testament really to their quality. You know, I wonder will a lot of the buildings that are built today last as long, so I doubt it.
Have you any idea how much it's going to cost? Shirley.
Yeah.
That base, that little black line,
Yeah.
basically the colour of the seats on the red or reddish maroon, about 30 years ago.
The colour below
That was
the
basically
really all the way up to the
no,
base.
just the black line.
Okay.
I can't remember exactly the colour of it. Below that was a symbol for the car.
Oh, right.
And the human head.
Okay, so the red colour.
Yeah, the seat
was
colour
red.
here
Okay.
was similar.
It's lighting that then the colour that we see.
The black line was simple, was that the black line on the seating colour. Stick it up there, see.
Yeah. I mean, something that we can look into as well by
So you chip it off.
Yeah, you can take a sample and have it analysed, yeah, so you can take a plot from it. So, yes, yeah. You have a question?
Before they put those metal struts in, was there any damage done to the building? The reinforcement?
I actually don't know when they were put in, and I'm only just guessing that it was realised that the outward thrust was causing problems, or there was a worry that the building wasn't tied together well enough. So I don't know when and why they were put there.
Was they not put in at the time? It was a long part inside. The other ones going across stage tying the main.
They could well have been put in at the time of the build.
I mean, the more would have to be to keep it together.
Yeah.
It's simple.
Yeah.
I mean, that holds it together and that keeps it. You can't
They should, however your roof should work without that truss, the truss configuration of the truss should work without being tied together.
But there are similar ones across going from end to end between in the picture there, when you show upstairs, you can see the ones tying the main rafters.
Okay, internally between the slates and the ceiling. Okay, then it's possible to resolve it at the same time. Okay.
In mentioning the 2,400 from the Church Commissioners and the 1,200 from Lord Altamont, it is a good opportunity for the Church of Ireland parishioners to thank their Catholic neighbours, because the money accrued to the Church Commissioners from the tithes which were imposed on the Catholic people. So once more, and thank you all who are from the Roman community for building our church for us. You are good not to hold it against us, granted how obnoxious the tithing system was.
In the examinations you've done of the church in this current programme and the work that's been done, has anything been discovered that wasn't known before? Have there been any surprises? Any new discoveries?
The only, but in terms of the archival research, for me a discovery was the fact that the drawings which were referred to by Katrina Hastings in her article are the actual construction drawings for the church. Because she felt or believed that they weren't, that they were, but she does refer to drawings which were inscribed as having been the articles, according to the Articles of Agreement of the 7th of April 1869, which is what the inscription on these drawings is. So there may be another set which Katrina saw, and this set then has since come to light within But it was Susan Hood, the archivist in the RCB library, was very helpful in pulling these out for me. So that's the only really new thing that wasn't in any of the literature, you know. And also the Holman Hunt connection, but Val knew about that already. So. But it's not written anywhere. It's not in the literature as being a significant copy, and it really is. I mean, it's just so appropriate for the church and the time and the design.
Is there any file and correspondence kept between all the parties at the time? The builders and the priests, or
the time of Thomas Newnham Dean, there's possibly more to be discovered. I know Katrina Hastings has done a thorough search of vestry minutes and any of the sources, any of the obvious sources for the building. The Westport Estate Papers also has revealed the cartoon from one of the stained glass windows, and whether there's more to be found in the estate papers about the build. There possibly is, you know, because it was so connected to the Lloyd silos. So it remains to be seen whether more can be dug out in relation to the building.
I have a question going back to Ruskin, because Ruskin and Dean and Woodward were such great.
Can't hear you. Can't hear you, Simon. Speak up.
A question back to Ruskin, because Ruskin and Dean and Woodward were great exponents of each other, and they had that connect in the building in Oxford, and there's written evidence of that connect.
Yeah.
Because this building is only a few years later, and Ruskin's influence seems to be manifest in its design, is there any written connect, or do you think Ruskin was conscious of this building? Because it would be wonderful to find a connect between Ruskin and Holy Trinity.
Yeah.
Or is it to be found yet?
I think it might be yet to be found. Yeah. there's nothing as far as I'm aware. There could be something now, but
Well, the Ruskin Papers,
possibly.
America or something.
Yeah, I don't know. Or are they in the Lake District? Is there anything in Lake Coniston? It's certainly something that could be looked into. I know Freddie O'Dwyer is somebody I need to speak to. Freddie O'Dwyer has written about. So there's two authorities on the works of Dean Woodward. There's Eve Blau, who published in 1984, I think it was, and she wrote about the architecture of Dean and Woodward up until the death of Woodward, a premature death in 1851. I think he died. It's either 1851 or 61. And after that, then there was nothing had been done on their work. You know, under Dean's administration, if you like, because Thomas Newnham Dean ran the practice after Woodward's death. Obviously, he kept the whole thing going. He had run it with Woodward, even though his father was still in the practice, you know, earlier. But really, it was Thomas Newnham Dean and Benjamin Woodward who kept it going until Woodward's death then. And Thomas Newnham Dean's son, was part of the practice also at that stage. That's the era, so it's the Thomas Newnham Dean and Manley Dean era that Freddie O'Dwyer writes about in his book, also called The Architecture of Dean and Woodward, but with different dates. So, so he's the person who's the authority on any connection that there may have been with Ruskin, and he's certainly a person to talk to about that. He's worth talking to, definitely, yeah. See if there's anything else.
Just before we ask Reverend Val to give us a blessing on the way home, I'd just like to thank all of you for sharing her talents with us this morning.
Thank you heartily, Simon. You express exactly our gratitude and admiration for all that Anya has presented to us and for the work she has been doing for our church building and thereby for our parish community. It has lifted everyone's hearts and I think lifted us to a level where we now feel we're really motoring on the matter. So Anya, hooray, thank you. We are proud of you.
Thank you. Father.
Introduce Father Patrick, our new Puritan town.
Yes.
We have a former life Mayor General together.
Yes.
Years ago.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, most welcome, Pat. And let me turn on the rest of the lights so that those who might not be familiar with the building will see it at a little more advantage. Hooray. Well done.